Oh, it's Saturday morning out in the garage. It's about 10:30 a.m. I've got royalty coming this morning, and I don't think it's going to pass the white glove test out here, so we better get cleaning. It's an absolute disaster out here. Hey Mom, this is how I dust my house. Just kidding. I don't actually dust my house. Royalty has arrived, and they've brought their new gloves to do the cleanliness check, make sure everything is clean in the garage. So look at those things. I mean, see, yeah, aren't those pretty?
That's how I'm working today.
Yeah. Hands tied. All right, we're gonna get to work.
Just enough for my beer.
Well planned. All right, so we're gonna get to work. We'll be back in a bit. So over the past, when did we make these? Like a week ago? 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
So over the past couple of weeks we've been thinking about these vent ducts, and I've been sort of playing around, and now that I've had the fenders on for a little bit of time, I've been sort of doing some quick measurements, and we've kind of determined that the original ducts that we made, although they followed, you know, roughly the template of the piece that we cut out, they're slightly larger than this piece that we cut out, which was going to be a problem because I realized that it was going to be starting to run into, if we made them too large, it was going to start running into getting up into this fold in the fender, which we didn't want. We want the vents to lie about somewhere around here where I've got this sort of traced out on the fender. They can be a little bit higher, but we definitely don't want it to interfere with this body line here. So what we decided to do is we decided to go ahead and make them smaller. So we've got a smaller buck here with a slightly different shape that we're going to utilize, and that's going to mean that we have to weld up the piece that we've cut out already. So I'm going to probably work on welding that piece that we cut out from the inner fender so we can mark the new location for the cutout for the fender vents. We were trying to work from the, I'll take this one for a second. So we were trying to work from the inside out, and we were having a look at where that fender line sort of lies inside, and you can sort of just see, I think you can probably see where that fender line lies. So the duct obviously has to be about an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch below that fender line. So that's what we're going to be basing our duct work on. We want to end up about 3/4 of an inch below that line at least. So we're going to yeah, somewhere around there is what we're looking to. So we're going to try to form something that's going to work, which means obviously that vent's going to drop down a little bit in that inner fender and extend outwards. So hopefully you get the drift of what we're trying to do. Yeah. So there's where we're kind of going with it. You can see how much space we have extra at the top now. So we want to drop that vent down to about where it is now, and obviously it's going to have a flange on it of about a 1/2 inch flange or so around the outside. So we can get a 1/2 inch flange around and attach that ductwork to the inner fender. So that's what we're attempting today. So I'm going to take the fender off and weld that thing up that I cut out, which is no big deal. And Ellen is going to work on making some smaller ducts. And we're also discussing, as part 2 of this, how we're going to do the cutout in the fender, but I think we'll talk about that a little bit more once we get to that point. Once we're brave enough to actually cut this outer fender, we'll come back and we'll talk about how we're going to do this part of it. All right. See, this is what you have to do when you don't have a long break in your shop. You just got to break out the old hammer and chisel the hard way. He's just be complaining the whole freaking time.
Good thing it's not a rock on a piece of stick.
I can give you a bigger hammer if you want. Would you like a bigger hammer?
A bigger rock on a bigger stick.
That I can't help you with. All right, we're just about getting ready to weld this piece back in here. So we're going to weld it in and then we're going to cut it out again. So anyway, it's good welding practice. The progress is happening on the vents. Looking good. And we've got this piece welded back in now. And we're just about to grind that down. That looks good. We'll get the grinder out and go to town. Okay, I've got the that plate welded back in there, so just waiting for Ellen to finish the ducts over there before we figure out where we need to cut it back out again. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is I'm going to go back to my door here and I'm going to just cut this corner out, hopefully of the outer skin and not really touching the inner, but we'll see what we can do. Anyway, I've got my little Dremel out. We'll cut that out carefully and see if we can pick it off. Okay, there's the little corner that we cut out. Oh, now it's on the floor. Anyway, it looks a little rusty below that, so I'm going to take a wire brush and we'll brush that out and see what we're left with. Okay, we've got that area cleaned up down to bare metal, and it actually didn't clean up too bad. There's a tiny little pinhole here, just where my finger is, that we should be able to weld up through the back. So we're going to cut a little patch back out, patch it in there, weld that in, and we'll just finish that up from the back. But we are going to spray it with some rust converter first though, just to get some rust converter back in there so we don't have issues in the future. We'll rust convert it and zinc prime it. Okay, the first new duct is complete, and as you can see it's pretty significantly smaller than the outside one, so pull that one up, the inner side. So there you go, there's the new one. It looks fabulous. Getting good at making those. He may be able to bring his prices down to $600 a piece.
Yeah, it was my time now to 2 minutes. It was 3 before. 2
minutes now? It was 3 before. All right. All right, guys, we've got that corner patch in and looking good. So it's nice and solid. We're going to attack this little pinhole next and see what's going on behind this guy. Ellen's just finishing up the second of the vents over here. And we're just coming up to 2:30. I've already told him that we're going in for lunch at 2:30 because I'm starving. This guy doesn't eat, or doesn't eat often, doesn't sleep, so he's a machine. So I'm forcing him to go in at 2:30. But he drinks a lot of beer to make up for everything.
Cheers.
All right, we're back from lunch. We had a little bit of chili and a little bit of apple crisp or apple crumble, whatever you want to call it. And Ellen is full.
Can't move now.
He can't move. He said he wants to take a nap. Anyway, we were talking and we wanted to do a quick shout out, and I think Ellen has done this already for Chris Fisher.
Yeah, I haven't posted it yet.
Oh, okay, so Ellen's going to do a shout out for Chris Fisher. We've been watching Chris work on his 64 Spitfire, I think. 66 Spitfire, round tail Spitfire. I think it's a 66. I'm going to say 66.
All right.
Anyway, 66, it's a round tail Spitfire. Oh my God, there goes my vent. Anyway, so if you get a chance, check out Chris Fisher's channel. He also has got a great website called roundtailrestoration.com. So you can check out his progress there. So I believe he calls his Spitfire Dorothy after his grandmother. So check out Dorothy, check out Chris. He's making really good progress. The last video I watched, he just attached a new rear valance to his car. So anyway, things are coming together and looking good. So
it's getting better and better, and
yeah,
he's doing a real good job with
yeah,
this Spitfire.
he is.
His videos too.
Yeah. Anyway, go check him out. Another Triumph guy, Chris Fisher, Triumph Spitfire. All right, back to work. All right, the next thing I want to do on this door is I want to get rid of this little rust pit. So we're going to cut this guy out and see what lies beneath and fix that up. because that will come back to haunt us if we don't fix it. All right, so we're cutting back out our newly welded in panel. So we hope we've got these in the right spot. We're gonna have a little bit of wiggle room, we think. So we're just gonna go ahead and cut that out. You know what? We can always weld it back in if we need to, right?
If I keep the insert in one piece.
That's right. All right, here we go.
It would be great if we ground the welds.
Yeah, look at that. Wow. Looks good.
Yeah, looks really.
Now we framed that hole. What's wrong with it?
This radius.
Yeah.
So we have to grind it a little bit bigger because the radius is not letting it go all the way in now. So for sure we need to make it a little bit bigger than that.
I think it looks good though. We should hold the fender up. we should hold the fender up and see where that line comes out under the lip of the fender just for fun. So we're going to do that now just to check.
Back it up a little.
Just going to check.
Okay, now I can grind the weld a little bit.
We're going to come back. So we've just mounted the fender temporarily with a couple of bolts, and we've obviously moved that vent inwards towards the engine compartment. All we've done now is just marked on the inside a line, so when we take the fender off, we can see where that the top of the ductwork is going to hit the outside or the inside of the outer fender. So we're going to pull that fender off right now and see how we did as far as the top line is concerned. We're not going to cut the fender yet until we actually get the fenders fitted up 100% and match it to the hood, etc. Because we don't want to do that until the very end, but at least we can see how we did as far as alignment, as far as that top, the top body line is concerned. So we're going to pull that fender off. Okay, so we're finding it's not as easy as just cutting out this little panel on the side as far as alignment is concerned. Everything I've read basically says you just need to remove that that panel and basically make your vent tube and it's going to work, but it definitely doesn't work that way. So you can see here how close we are to this fender line. Along the top, the green line is where that vent is right now. We want it to be lower than that, probably at least 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/2 an inch lower than that line. So we've got some work to do still. So it's a good thing we put that fender up and did that test before we did anything else. Okay, we've moved that fender duct down a little bit, and you can see now that we've got not exactly a straight line, but we will have a straight line. So we've got at least 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit bigger on this end of clearance below that fender lip. So I think we're looking good. We've got the duct in pretty much the place where we want it now, so that's a good thing. So I'll just give you a quick, is that still in there? No.
Okay.
Now I'll go over this side. So just throw this duct in. And there you go. There's what that's going to look like, something like that. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So I'm glad we revisited. If you can recall, the upper line is where we had it cut before. So you can see we've dropped it significantly down. So I think that's looking really good. All right, so we'll leave it there for now, and we'll figure next steps the next time out. All right, guys, just coming up to 7 p.m. and we're just out here shutting the lights off and shutting the heat off. Had a good day. Always a good day in the garage with Ellen. Had some good laughs. Had some good food. And made some progress on the car. The vents are looking great. They're in the location they need to be in now, which is great. So yeah, unfortunately I had to make another set of vents, but he's getting pretty good at it and doing pretty quickly now. So yeah, very impressive. So those look great, I think. They'll look even better there with when we get the Herald grills fitted in there and we get them you know, extended through to the fender. They're going to look fantastic, I think. I think they're even growing on Ellen a little bit. So I don't know if I did an update on the door. I did manage to fix that second spot of rust over here, so that's looking pretty good. We just got it ground down. So I think as far as repairs are concerned on this door, I don't think there's too much more to do. We'll flip it over and have a better look on the other side, but I think those are really the only two areas of concern that I had. So I think what we'll do tomorrow when we get out here is we'll bolt this door back up to the car, and then we will start working on the rear fender fitment. So I think that's it for tonight. We'll start tomorrow morning off by giving this garage another good cleaning before we go to work. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for subscribing. We will see you tomorrow. Good night.